Welcome to the Building Campus County Connections webinar series. I'm Celeste Carmichael, Program Development and Accountability Specialist for CCE Administration and host to this webinar series. Our goal is to further our capacity as a system for campus county connectedness, and we hope that you enjoy this webinar on the Upstate Food Hubs project. So our presenter today is Nathan Forster. Nathan is the Interim Ag Economic Development Specialist for CCE Madison County. He's new to this job, but certainly not new to food hubs, and he's a great resource, as you're going to hear, for those of you with questions about how this project evolved. Rod Howe, Cornell Cooperative Extension Assistant Director for Community and Economic Vitality and the Executive Director for CARDI, is also on today's webinar. And we're going to be joining a webinar already in progress we'll be starting right here at this slide of Nathan's Food Hub objectives for the growing Upstate Food Hub. And I want you to note that the radial bar graph image that you see documents the interest of those involved in activities that are being planned for, and that'll be important as you continue to listen.
These are a lot of the really common ones, and these are the ones that we focused on.
Thank you.
So just a little bit of more history on our project. They're New York Beef Farmers Cooperative, now Side Hill Farmers, and you can see the image in the up left of all the slides. It was formed with the initial intent to build and operate a 50,000 head slaughter facility here in Madison County. That was at the recommendation of a feasibility study that was completed and rather costly for the farmers. And then in vetting that suggestion and finding, it was found out rather quickly and unfortunately that there was way too much risk in that regard. After speaking with some more industry experts following the results of that study, it was pretty clear that a company like Cargill, should a slaughter facility of that size be proven successful in this area, could put it out of business pretty quickly or just purchase it. So they, went back to the drawing table and tried to figure out, okay, how are we going to do this effectively? At that time, the Madison County CCE Ag Economic Development Program was engaged to help with planning for a smaller and more vertically integrated operation with marketing as its first priority. So kind of flipped it on its head in the sense that a slaughter facility is really, with meat, is really that, that point of harvest, if you will, and marketing is right at the point, right before the point of sale. So it was looking more at, okay, how can we find and identify and actually capture some market share and go from there. And the image that's there on the bottom of the slide is a pretty good example of the scale of our food hub. This was part of a larger presentation, but it's generally considered a medium scale. And it would have inputs of many small to medium scale farmers, the transportation, and I would argue that there should be a truck on the other side of the food hub as well, just to emphasize that there is transportation both in procurement and in distribution. And then those channels accessing a diversity of outlets. And this is what's really key for our food hub is that it's really built on moving products through markets in terms of wholesale markets and retail markets, regional grocery stores and retail outlets of all sizes, as well as actually owning a retail component as well, and we'll get into that in a lot more depth. So as this developed, the value-added further processing, the retail, aggregation, and distribution really became the primary objectives. And the folks at the table in this planning process were CCE Madison County, the New York Beef Farmers Cooperative, now Side Hill Farmers, Cream Hill Dairy, which at the time was a grass-fed dairy cooperative, but now is a solely owned grass-fed butter operation, and Upstate Growers and Packers and a few other farmer groups. And all of them had a shared need in some aspect for those components there, the value add, the further processing, retail, aggregation, distribution, as well as the shared business services. So once that was identified, it was very clear that there was opportunity and that there had been, it had been identified, in other words, the project's real goal and direction. So that at that point began the fundraising and implementation for the project. So I'm going to sort of diverge from the Food Hub itself right now and get more into how over the course of the last 2 years the project team has and the project itself has benefited and interacted with, benefited from the relationship with CCE, both at the county and at campus, and what some of those interactions have been like. First off, a category I'm loosely terming direct expertise. In a couple of occasions, our project team was able to meet directly with experts from campus, and in one case regarding the production practices for Side Hill Farmers, the farmers within Side Hill Farmers, Mike Baker came up from Cornell and spoke directly with the beef, visited all the beef farmers on their farm, looked at their herds, and spoke directly with them about the importance of consistency in carcass quality, and that while, you know, what can be done to foster diversity of breed type, but and diversity of the cattle, promoting health of the herd, but at the same time not necessarily a diversity of quality, while understanding that, you know, different breeds do have different muscle tendencies, shapes, etc., but in terms of the actual quality of the carcass, there shouldn't be much variance. And so that was a really great for the farmers that are a part of the cooperative, because in the long run, understanding how that impacts things like breed and feed can impact the carcass quality will not only be beneficial to the individual farmer, because they'll be able to sell more meat into the cooperative system, but also to the cooperative itself, which all of the members are a part of and will benefit from, again, with its success. And especially because there's a high emphasis on the retail side of it, that it becomes even more important visually and in terms of the product that's being put in front of the consumers to have that consistency of quality. And then lastly, it really helped our project team in creating producer protocols. That was an area where we weren't exactly sure, you know, how much we could tell the farmers, okay, you have to raise your cattle this way, or you have to do this, or, you know, whatever the stipulations might be, and having Mike come up and talk to them all individually, it was really easy to get everyone on the same page and actually put some producer protocols in place. The other aspect is the cooperative structure assistance. Some of our project team members went down to campus and met with some folks from the Dyson School, specifically about the cooperative structure that we were working with and developing. We had some questions about whether or not that structure really was the most viable for the business model that we had and the goals that we had for this business. We had some questions about how to actually construct that and things like a membership equity drive, you know, how to structure our stock and so forth. And so having that opportunity and being able to go to our county office and say, hey, we need information on this. Can you tell us who we need to talk to? Can you help us meet with those people, that was really great. Again, it's really helped us out. And through those 2 points there, those were part of a USDA value-added producer grant program grant for planning. So, that kind of plays into a bigger theme that I'll get into, but, that really helped us meet the requirements of the grant and successfully complete the planning phase of the grant. So, let's see here.
Nathan,
yeah.
This is Rod Howe again. So was it specifically the Cooperative Enterprise Program that you met with?
To be honest, that was before I joined the project. I believe it was. I know that I don't. I know that Todd Schmidt was there.
So that's an important resource for people to keep in mind, because the Cooperative Enterprise Program is just another tool for many folks working in our system. So anyway, I just wanted to mention them by name.
No, great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm going to interject as well for a moment, Nathan. So it's Celeste. A couple of things that I just want to share with our participants. One is there is a chat box. So I want to encourage you that if you have questions, go ahead and chat in your questions. Since we're using the event feature of WebEx, there's not a good way to give everybody an opportunity to ask questions in person, or at least so that we can hear your voice. So go ahead and use that chat if you have some questions for Nathan or for Rod here. And I'm also going to, as Nathan is moving on in the slides, I'm just going to open up the next poll and just asking if there's a food hub in your region, and if so, if Cooperative Extension is involved. So sorry for the interruption, Nathan, but I'm going to just open up that poll.
No problem. So kind of where I was going with that last comment about how that helped us meet requirements for a grant that we had for the project. I used this infogram here that was part of that previous presentation. The information there that's in that graphic is pretty much all directly taken from different parts of our application for the Consolidated Funding Application Round 2 to New York State. And you can see there in the quote, the single most important part of our relationship with the AED office is their ability to teach us to communicate our project from an economic impact, viability, and community development and planning perspective. That was from one of the primary farmers with the Food Hub project, and what she was saying in the context of that is that for the farmers on the ground, it's an easy sell in terms of, well, this is going to help us. This is going to be a good business move for us. We need this for our farm to grow. It's very much there and real, but it's also very hard for those farmers that are doing that work on the ground on a daily basis to communicate to, say, somebody at the state that's interested in potentially funding them. Well, why is this going to be good for your community from an economic standpoint? Why is this going to help the agricultural community of Madison County and surrounding areas? The first inclination is, well, it makes sense. We'll be able to sell our products better, but actually being able to quantify that or to do the research behind, well, what really goes into that, to the answer to that question, is something that is an area of expertise that CCE was really able to bring to the project in the early stages. Going through the CFA process hand in hand with the farmers has actually built their capacity, and now they're at the point where they're able to apply for their own grants. They're able, the project will be able to move forward and stay farmer-owned and operated, and be able to access the resources that the state is making available. So, the capacity building there that the Madison County office was able to provide was really key. And it also enabled them to know when to hire key staff. And that was another really big, important aspect of this project, is that the principal farmers knew that at different stages in this project, they were going to have to hire key staff and people with expertise in those specific areas that they just didn't have, rather than try and do it themselves and kind of hodgepodge it. And there were times where that was really at the urging of the AED program, saying, look, as your business develops, this is a really important step for you to take.
Nathan, it's Celeste. We're just going to go back to this slide for just a moment. Rod and I were commenting about how interesting this slide is. It really has a lot to say. So I'm not sure if this was created specifically for your food hub and who created it, or if it might have some, it might be of interest or of value to other associations, but it's definitely interesting. And this whole question of putting a dollar amount on ag economic impact is certainly something that we talk a lot about within Cooperative Extension. I thought it would be a good time to put a plug in. We've got a Campus County Connection webinar coming up in March, and at the end of the program I'll show a slide of all of the dates and topics. But the March topic is about food hubs and applying ag economic impact dollars to the impact of our work within Cooperative Extension. So I think this really hits on something that a lot of people are talking about and interested in, and not just farmers trying to figure out how to put dollars and cents to things, but in Cooperative Extension we certainly talk about this a lot. So
yeah, so, and it's interesting. One of the things that I think is unique, at least in my personal and professional experience, about New York State is the number of higher education institutions throughout the state, and particularly in the rural areas, is really, I come from Oregon, and I'm totally blown away by it and not used to it at all. There's you got the University of Oregon, Oregon State, and then a handful of other small colleges, but they're not tied together by such a system like a SUNY, for example. And this graphic is actually from a presentation Beth McKellips, who was formerly in the AED program director position here for CCE Madison County, she developed a relationship with a landscape architecture professor at SUNY ESF in Syracuse. And he got together a group of graduate students, and they were doing, he had a whole class that was doing group projects on the landscape of food and the landscape of the food system. And so this group chose the Food Hub to do their study on, and this was a part of their presentation. And I guess that's, it's another campus, but it is another campus county connection in that regard. But just having somebody like what in Beth's position here at CCE that has relationships with all sorts of resources, that gets to another point that I wanted to bring up, which is networking. One of the greatest things, and especially when I first got up here, not being from this region initially, and coming up from the city, I had a good network down towards the city, but not as strong up here, and I was able to develop that very quickly with the assistance of Beth. She really was able to introduce me to a lot of the key players in the region and with Cornell in terms of people that are working on food hubs, on local food economic development and studies, and it really proved beneficial as we move the project forward. And as I said, specifically with this graphic, a lot of those statistics are statistics that Beth and the primary farmers put together as a part of a CFA application, and were just in text form. And then it was the group of grad students that put together this really, really nice visually graphic and put the text into it. So that answers your question on that. And then for another form of connections, and this has been a very direct and still is ongoing, is work on a logic model. Our project has taken a lot of turns, twists and turns as it's moved forward, And we've begun to work directly with the Cornell Office of Research and Evaluation and Monica Hargraves, and she's been awesome to work with. And I really do believe that once we're done with this logic model work, the project will be in a much, much better spot in terms of its footing moving forward. I think I could say it that way, in terms of, there's been a lot of, when we've encountered a curveball, there's been a lot of, well, we need to sit down and look at, what does this mean? What does it mean for where we're going, where we've been? What are our options? What decisions do we have to make? Whereas with the logic model, if there's some sort of a change with one of the areas in the logic model, we can see where logically it should affect other aspects of the project, and adjust in that regard. And it's going to prove very, very beneficial to the project to have this moving forward. It's also something that more and more now with grants or loans or business plans in general, projects are being asked to provide a logic model right away. So if this project needs to do some more fundraising or anything like that, it'll be definitely an asset to have in that regard as well. And then, the primary farmers of the project hired me on for the project, project management and administration of the project and the implementation of it in terms of, facilitating role and so forth. And this has really been a tool for me to use to help them understand, why I'm working on something at a certain time, or why we need to be focusing on this at this time, and so forth. So that's been very helpful for our team and our team communication and a lot of other aspects in that regard as well.
Nathan, can I just chime in here? So I just want to, I know you've got CORE represented on the slide, but I just really do want to acknowledge Monica Hargraves and her willingness to be pretty involved in this. So CORE, the Cornell Office of Research and Evaluation, is working with CCE on 4 of our major program initiatives, and so one of those is community and economic vitality. So we took a broad view of developing a logic model for that program area, but then we were asked to pick a specific initiative underneath community and economic vitality to do a very specific logic model on, and the team chose this one. So it's been interesting to go back and forth between what we're saying in the broader program logic model and this one that's very specific.
Yeah, the work she has done has just been amazing, and it's, I have another meeting with her where I'm going down to campus to really kind of finalize it. But having somebody like her that's such a resource and so knowledgeable about a system like a logic model is really invaluable in my eyes. And the project, the people on the project team could have sat down and said, oh, hey, this grant is requiring us to do a logic model. Let's look up how you do one online and let's just do it. It wouldn't be nearly as powerful or as relevant or as effective as the one that we're going to have as a result of working with somebody that is really trained and knowledgeable in the process. And from our perspective, from the project's perspective, it actually allows us to really save a lot of time on it, in the sense that we can really just talk and flow with different aspects of the project, and Monica is able to help us identify, okay, that needs to be an output, or that's a medium-term outcome, or that's an activity, or that's, so that aspect of it, I just can't even emphasize enough how valuable that is.
So I probably should, with that, also just plug that, and many of the folks online might probably know this, but there is a capability for anyone within Cooperative Extension to use the Netway, where you can develop logic models and pathway models online. Pathway model is what Nathan was showing us just in the last slide. There's also a lot of resources available to help educators know more about how to create logic models and the templates on the staff site, staff.cce.cornell.edu, and just go to program development and then courses, and there's a course, an online course and a saved webinars and short videos about how to create a logic model. So got to put a plug in for that while you're talking about how valuable logic models really are. So
yeah, and if there's, I don't have a slide with links at the end of the slideshow, but that should be on there. Again, that Netway really is for anybody that's part of the CCE system or Cornell. That it's a very valuable tool and software platform. Okay, so moving forward, another and the last in this series of how we've connected with and really benefited from the resources of both CCE, the county, and at campus. And this is another place to plug the work that Todd Schmidt and Becca Jablonski have been doing, but data research and analysis. Initially the term local food and what that really meant was seen as more of a trend. And starting in about 2009, USDA really started looking at this from an analytical aspect, trying to figure out, is this a trend or is this a developing market niche? And I would definitely say that the case can be made now that it's a viable market niche, and it's here to stay. And so as a result of that, we've seen an increasing amount, not just from Cornell, but nationally, in data research and analysis of the market segment and of how farmers with different types of products are interacting, what's proving successful, what's not. But Cornell really has been very active in this, and both in the CCE network, but also on the campus. And the more that is done, the more benefit that is to projects like ours, because we can call on those resources when making a case to a funder or to a bank trying to get a loan and trying to explain why this business works. Because that's still a major challenge for local food startups is, convincing a lender or convincing an investor why this is a smart business decision, because it's really still quite a bit of uncharted waters. So again, like you said, Celeste, we'll have the date of those other webinars, but I would urge everybody to keep an eye out for the work that Todd Schmidt's been doing with Becca Jablonski on the economic impacts of Food Hub. I'm really looking forward to it, and I think that it's really great stuff. So to get back to our Food Hub project, over this last 8 months now, there's been, as I mentioned, a lot of turns to the project, and one of those was an environmental issue at the site of the intended site of the processing facility that we are unaware of prior to purchase of the property, and actually has halted temporarily that purchase. And so while we've been working on that, and the reason I put all of those slides about the campus-county connection is that all of those activities in working with CCE here in Madison County or working with folks at the campus, all of those really played a role in helping us take in stride, okay, so we're not able to break ground and build our centralized facility that's a larger wholesale type of facility. We're not able to do that right off the bat like we had anticipated. But what are we able to do? All of that work and collaboration with Cornell has really helped us get to where we are now and identified our path forward. So I have a little bit of a snapshot here of where we are, and that is we're essentially operating on a very micro level and really in more of a research and development context. Our Food Hub through a retail location in Manlius, New York. In February of 2013, I was part of a group of people that were brought on, including a managing chef, butcher, and prepared foods chef, to open the retail location. We spent a couple months planning and rebuilding or retrofitting the space, the physical location of the store, and we used about $350,000 of investor money for this work. As you can see from the pictures, there's a lot of focus. The big pictures on the wall there, up above the cases, those are pictures of farms that who are members of the cooperative, farms whose product we sell in the store. It's very important to us to have complete transparency. One of the things that we really put an emphasis on is the education of our staff people and our counter staff in particular, because they have to really, truly understand what we're doing from a project standpoint in order to communicate that and help educate the consumer as to why our products are different, what makes them better, why can they, identify with and find value in what we're offering them. And on July 1st, we opened the store in less than 3 months of operation. Now it's been more than that. This was a little bit, I should have changed that, but we're averaging well over now closer to 15,000 gross sales a week. We're working with probably closer to 45 farms, and we've created 8 jobs, and 5 of those have been truly new jobs. But again, that last bullet point there, the most important aspect, and this was something that through working with CCE, we realized we needed to put a premium on, because they really encouraged us to understand from a business standpoint, what our best products were going to be and how to put those forth. It really is research and development, and we're able to, through the work that we're doing and the operations that we have, we're able to identify products with the greatest demand and the highest margin, and the products that are really going to drive the business and the project as we continue to grow. So this is kind of a recap of the lessons we've learned and some of that information. The biggest, right there, the take-home message, the main reason we got started with the retail was to work on building a market for local food and establishing a local food brand. The Side Hill Farmers logo that's up there, that is the brand for the Food Hub. And then having a retail space is probably one of the best ways to build brand recognition and really create that market demand. It's a great place to do product development because we have customers that can give us feedback right away. And then while we're not selling necessarily in wholesale volume, we are starting by purchasing additional product from the community to sell on our shelves or sell in the vegetable case or the dairy case. We are starting relationships that can grow in terms of farms that are supplying us product. And that's really, at the core of this is that on the back end, we're understanding the logistics of the region and of the community. We're understanding, where can we be more efficient, what farms really are on board to grow with us, and it's really been beneficial in helping us understand that. So these are just a few more pictures of some of the products that we have in the store. Again, with local food, presentation is incredibly important. And all these products that you're seeing are products that we purchase directly from farmers within the Madison County community, or we have some products that come from nearby communities as well. But I believe currently everything in the store is from within 50 miles. Who knows how long that'll really stay, but it's been really great. And I see there a chat that somebody asked, will you be having all farm products, meat, dairy, and vegetables? Absolutely. So if I go back here to, in this picture, the open case on the right, There's produce in that case, and that's during the summer that case was completely full of produce. Now it has more eggs and dairy in it in the winter time, but the concept of the store is essentially an open pantry. Everything, and I'll come forward to this slide here, the picture on the left, those prepared dishes. We're really trying to have zero waste, trying to be as efficient as possible. So you see the meat case there. If one of those steaks, doesn't sell after a couple days, is getting to the point where it's probably not going to sell, then that goes into prepared foods. And from the vegetables, that comes into prepared foods, from the other ingredients. So we actually are, when we're making these prepared foods, we're actually pulling from the supplies that are on our shelves, again, getting back to that sort of pantry aspect. So that is local food as well. It's not as if we're using a bunch of other, broadline wholesale products to make our prepared food.
Click on as many as.
So I'm going to, this is a picture of some of the farmers that we work with. Again, it's very much community-oriented. And I have here some helpful links and resources. I'm going to leave this slide up, and I see there's some questions going on in the chat. And so I think I'll go ahead and start to address those if that sounds good, Celeste.
That sounds good. So I'm going to close the poll now and just share that with folks, and you might be able to comment a little bit more on the poll as well, Nathan.
Okay, will do.
It takes a couple of seconds, allowing for any final responses.
So there's a question there about how does a food hub differ from a farm store, apart that it's equipped with the butcher facility in the back? I think the case could be made that they're really a food hub. A farm store can absolutely be a food hub. I guess the difference and the one thing that I would ask would be, and I would say, is a food hub generally will be working with a large group of farmers. It's basically food hubs are almost always based on the concept of providing either infrastructure or business assistance or some sort of efficiency mechanism to a broader group of farmers. And food hubs also play a pivotal role in smaller farmers being able to access some larger markets by virtue of the fact that a food hub can be a location where product is aggregated and then collectively sold into a larger supply chain. So that can be some of the differences, but also typically you have that processing component, as you mentioned there. There's not only is there that aggregation going on, but there's multiple operations happening in one centralized location. That typically will characterize a food hub. But again, and you can follow some of these links here that have some more definitions about food hubs, and you'll see that there is a lot of variation in terms of what really is a food hub. Do we purchase the products or take them on consignment? We purchase directly. That relationship may change when there's a greater volume of products, but at this point in time, it's been preferable to the farmers and to us for our accounting and for the farmers' accounting that we just purchase the products outright and resell them. That is with the exception of the meat products. So the Side Hill Farmers Cooperative is a common ownership entity with the food hub, and so all the meat products that come through that cooperative are sold through the retail store and sold through the Food Hub under the Side Hill Farmers brand. Now, again, looking forward, looking down the road, that is an opportunity and something that we want to be offering farmers in our community, is that if it's vegetables or if it's another product, to have the capacity to either add value to them or take them in and co-pack them or brand them under the Side Hill Farmers logo, where we're purchasing from them, but then we're doing a lot of that. We're taking it from them as a raw product, and they're getting paid for that and that work, but then we're taking that further to the marketing aspect or packaging or distribution or whatever that might be. So looking at the poll, what do you see as potential Food Hub goals and outcomes? Let's see. Improving, I'm sorry, the kind of cut off. Improving access to local healthy food and economic development seem to be, wow, it's pretty spread over there. I think that is, again, pretty indicative in terms of why Food Hubs are, I mean, they're the new black right now. They're a very common form of local food startup. I really think that's because of their ability and the potential that a Food Hub has to have a broad-reaching effect. As you can see here, people have answered on a wide range of topics in terms of, everything from farmland preservation, community vitality, to economic development and improving access for healthy food. So, it's far-reaching, and I believe that, networks of food hubs or a food hub within a community really has an opportunity because of the way that it works with diverse group of farmers, diverse methods of operations, and diverse outlets for the products. It really has an opportunity to have broad-reaching effects.
So Nathan, there's another question about what happens when there's too much product, and whose product do you buy? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, so, well, thankfully, so far, we haven't run into the problem of too much product. In terms of whose product do we buy, it's, we buy, so far we've bought from farmers that's actually one of the ways that CCE has helped the project, is with the public relations and sort of the community outreach. So CCE Madison County works with a wide range of farmers throughout the county, has a lot of really strong connections, and as this project got going, it started putting out information within the community about this opportunity. And the farmers started coming forward or being more curious, or CCE would recommend, hey, there's Farmer Joe that grows really great peppers. You should go talk to him. And so it's been, and again, that's what gets back to an agricultural community. I think they're some of the most tight-knit communities. People really stick up for each other, really want to have a sense of collective, well, we got to power through it and improve this. And so we buy from, that's how, so far, that's how we have found people that we've bought from. We've also, done research ourselves for people that are producing, quality products. We've walked into supermarkets to say, or to other local retailers to see, hey, what local farms have their products on the shelves? Maybe we should talk to them. So there's definitely been research in that regard, and I will say we are putting in measures for what happens if we have excess product. One of the things that we're looking at is, the ability to freeze, to elongate shelf life. That's another reason why, further processing is a big part of this project, is because, it gives us the opportunity to take, let's say, tomatoes we have way too many of, put them and make them in tomato sauce that's shelf stable. So, there's a lot of mechanisms for that. And another one that we're starting to cultivate is connections with food rescue organizations like the Central New York Food Bank and food pantries that they work with, being able to, if there is excess or should there be excess that may go to waste because we just can't move it, that we have an outlet for that, because again, it's a mission-driven project in that regard in terms of providing healthy, quality, and local food to the local residents, and so that's definitely a part of the planning process.
So we'll take one more question, and looks like the next one that came in, Nathan, is who did the design of the layout of the store, and how did you know what was needed in terms of equipment?
So that's a great question, and that gets back to what I spoke about in terms of one of the key points of this project was when the farmers that have been powering it and that are the owners and operators, when they realized, hey, we don't know how to do this, we need to hire some staff. And again, a lot of that was at the urging of CCE as well, saying, look, you've got a business that's starting, you need to make sure you have the right staff in there. So the project hired Greg Rode, who's a classically trained chef. He opened Rosalie's and Skinny Atlas. He operated the Inns of Aurora and the Wells College dining services, and he worked at the Inn at Little Washington down in Virginia. So he had vast experience. He'd started restaurants before. He designed the store, and he selected all of the equipment to be purchased. The butcher, Kevin McCann, was trained at Culinary Institute of America and worked for various butchers and meat cutting operations throughout the Hudson Valley and in New York City area, and he provided the input on the meat-specific equipment. So, I really can't emphasize enough how important that was to this project, making the decision saying, you know what, we understand it's going to really mean a high overhead. It may mean a loss, a greater loss in year one. It might not look good on the books, but we absolutely have to have highly trained and effective staff from the beginning, or else we're not going to be able to build a strong enough platform for this project to grow on.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. In the interest of time, Nathan, I'm just going to kind of wrap it up, and I really want to thank you for jumping in and taking this on. For those of you who joined us late, Nathan is serving in an interim role, and as he jumped into his new position just, 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago?
About that.
What's that?
I said about that.
About that. We recruited him to take this on, and you did a fantastic job. Thank you so much, Nathan.
Thank you.
So we want to invite you to continue on with this Building Campus County Connections. If any of you who are able to join us, we have webinars that are scheduled on a monthly basis, really they're short, just an hour, to help you know a little bit more about some of the projects that are going on, and we've got some really I think some excellent webinars coming up. In January, we'll be talking about community IPM, and specifically IPM in the schools. Harvest New York, and we've got a reschedule of a date for February, but I'll let you know as soon as I know what that date's going to be. But Harvest New York will be our Campus County Connection for February, and in March we're going to continue on this this idea of food hubs and focusing on evaluating the economic impact of food hubs, practitioners' approach. So thanks everyone for joining us, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.